So it's something for the.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So it's concerning mental health. of someone for-
I think this.
Wow, we're sorry.
Yeah, because it's not.
Somebody leave it on.
Okay. Yeah, it's not me, you know who it is. It's Moda. I know it is, because I come down and have to turn everything off.
And we'll see, and if it's as fast as it, you might not.
How are you?
Okay.
How are you ladies? Good morning.
Morning.
You want to see it or while you're doing it or not really?
Sorry. Oh, that'll be so, I'll be like a cat on a roof.
Now there's a delay, like 15 seconds.
Oh, that'll really screw me out. I can't.
We turn it off. Oh, turn it off.
There's
I
no
turned the
way.
audio off. I turned the audio.
Yes.
Turn it off.
Well, maybe.
Oh, no, that's not good. I can't, I watched myself do what I did.
It's on.
You busted me up.
Oh, man, it's over there.
I think the 15 seconds. let it throw us off.
With me laughing.
What would you do if you came down to my spot where you're talking and it's on the TV?
No, I have to close my eyes. Oh, that would be, that's a huge delay. I mean, that's enough where you can almost do something and then sit down and watch yourself do it. That's how they do it. I should practice in case I ever get auditioned for a role on TV. I'll know.
You can come down and speak.
You're jealous, Richard. I know you. I know you are.
Stumble over each other.
You know we're gonna go live when I come to the tax outreaches.
What?
We're gonna go live. No, I'm kidding. We will eventually, but not the first couple ones. I know Morgan is
I'm sorry.
heading to Elwood with you for the first one. I think I wanna come down to
So
Elwood
does that
too.
just say?
We're gonna have to take the van.
It's free language, whether it's.
Oh, it's such a nice.
It is, I know, I feel like if I'm not there, it's not fair, it's not right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just like a Senate subcommittee.
Oh my God, all we need is like a bigger microphones and. Oh, it looks.
It's fun.
We are.
We are,
It's on live stream, no kidding.
but it's a little bit of a delay. So don't look at it.
Don't look at it.
I mean, I can't see that far, but you probably can, you're younger.
No, I can't. My eyesight, I'm like legally blind with glasses.
Oh, my.
So. All right, what we got? So, what's going on, Maggie? All right. Good, good.
Good.
All right, we will call this meeting, March 10th meeting of Lawrence County Commissioners to order. Would all please rise for the pledge of allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. Dan, would you lead us in the pledge? Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Carol, please call the roll.
Mr. Spillwinkle,
Here,
Mr. Bevler,
Here.
Mr. Boyd.
Here. I will note for everyone in the audience, that we are being recorded on multiple different fronts right now, both by Mr. Parada for NCTV 45, by Ms. Hahn for her own use, and for us both in terms of the live stream that's being broadcast to YouTube right now, as well as a recording for our own personal use when compiling the minutes. With that being said, we have row officers' reports and comments. I'm seeing one row officer in the audience today, our very own Rick Rapone. Rich, do you have anything for us?
I do. I have a couple items I'd like to share.
All right, come on up, approach the bench.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you.
morning, morning.
Good morning to you. Okay, I'm going to give you an update on county tax collections. For the month of March, we've taken in $1,478,134.22 for a total of $2,886,064.18 for the year so far. So we're off and running and doing really well. Okay, another matter I do want to discuss, and I'll be issuing a press release on this as well too, is the Treasurer's Office, we received an inquiry in regards to small games chance licensing, specifically Chinese auctions.
Oh.
And what the inquiry was, is they had noticed that going to these events, that baskets have been donated that have alcohol in them. Okay, and they wanted us to look into that. So this morning, I did have a conversation with Captain Jamie Jones, who is our contact in these matters. And indeed, it is against the law to do that. And you cannot put bottles of liquor in baskets and donate them to these different organizations. It is a misdemeanor one with a $500 fine that the organization will be fined. Okay, if it's reported and found upon. So I want to get that out there as soon as possible.
Yes.
Because I know going to the events, we notice a lot of those out there. And you know what, it's just ignorance. People don't know. And it's never been questioned. So he said, what you can do is you can put empty bottles of liquor in your basket along with a gift card, like to a winery, to the state
Yes.
store, and do that. You know, but it's my job to educate the people once we're aware of
Correct.
something out there. I know there's a lot of that that's going on that people contribute. And I do have all the different legislation and the liquor control codes to go along with it. So we're going to be issuing a press release based on that, just to let everybody out there know that, you know, that it is the responsibility of the organization not to accept that, because they can be fined $500 for it.
So let me ask, because we texted this morning, was the Union Lions Club, do they operate on that? A small games and chance license when we put together that basket auction?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you told me that, because I was gonna get some.
Absolutely.
As would I.
It's a very popular item.
It is.
I mean,
It
it is,
is.
you know, it's a big draw out there, you know, and I just
Right.
do as my job once I have information to put it out. But I don't want anybody, because the intentions are always very good.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the methods, you know, aren't right. So, you know, with that being
That's
said,
great to have
yeah, I'll be putting out a
information.
press release today on it. I
Okay.
want as many people to know, especially the organizations, and even the people to know that it's against the law to do that.
Mhm.
Okay, so any
But,
questions?
but that alternative
Yes,
that is available too,
it is.
so because a gift card is a gift card,
A
is a
gift
gift
card is a
card,
gift
but
card,
the
yes.
presentation of it, I like the idea that you could actually use the empty
You
bottles
can
and
use the
then have the
empty
gift card,
empty
sure.
bottles, yeah, because
Yes,
pretty much
okay.
it's, you know, the Liquor Code Title 47 of the Liquor Control Board prohibits the sale of alcohol without a license. And then somebody with a liquor license is prohibited to give away alcohol as a
How
prize.
about that?
Yeah, and offering alcohol as a prize at any type of gaming event is considered a sell. So that's what that all falls
Yes.
under. It's all encapsulated under that Title 47 of the Liquor Control Board. So we're gonna get that out there
Yeah,
today.
absolutely.
So, okay, so your question on it,
Now we know.
yeah, empty
Yeah,
bottles.
now we know, thank you,
Empty
yes,
bottles.
empty bottles,
Empty bottles and
With
gift
the
cards,
gift
if you
card.
choose to do that.
yes,
Okay,
All right,
thank
any
you,
questions?
thank you.
thank you so much, Richard.
Very well.
And as always, thank you to the employees of the treasurer's office
Yes.
for expedient tax collection.
And the taxpayers for
And that's absolutely-
That's a
putting
big
their
one,
monies
too.
in,
It
yes,
starts with that.
That's a big
Starts
one,
with
too.
them, that's right,
Absolutely.
yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to the public comments section. Does anyone in the public wish to address the board? Angelo?
I just want to kind of put this on the record. We've had a malfunction again where our mail hasn't been being delivered. Now, this is every March since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talked to Mr. Rapone. I don't know. I'm going to call again the Postal Inspector General, but if people aren't receiving their tax bills or something, we've changed our address according to what they've told us. And we send our invoices out at PNC Bank,
Mm-hmm.
and they've made PNC Bank change this address now. This is going to be the fourth time, 2017, 2018, 2019, and now 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just making everybody aware that that has happened.
Thank you. And obviously, I would suggest you know, if you think there's something going on with the mail, like you said, contact.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good.
I got some pieces now that,
Absolutely. All right. Carrie, come on up.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good morning.
Carrie Con, Wilmington Township. I first want to say thank you. This is a huge step to be live streaming. I also want to thank you for providing the board packet, which includes the meeting minutes.
Absolutely.
As I did point out though, to Mr. Vanesco, that the change to the employee handbook, a copy of that draft should also be here as well, so the public can review it.
What we usually, first of all, it has been actually for review up in our office the entire week. It's been lying out on the table. The other thing with regards to, we vote on, you know, for example, contracts here, which are substantial, large
Sure.
documents. The way I see it, we're voting largely on, I'll try to find, we're voting, for example, on resolutions that authorize us to either enter into an agreement or sign on to a policy, not necessarily specifically that policy itself. That being said, I go back to just running the anti-nepotism ordinance, or not ordinance policy. That's been sitting on our table up in the commissioner's room. Anybody that's requested it, we sent over, Debbie requested it, we sent over a copy to Debbie, no issue.
Great. Well, thank you again. Today I'm going to read a letter to the editor that I will be submitting to the Newcastle News, and I titled it Rules of Conduct. As noted by the news on March 6, 2020, I requested that the public be provided a copy of the County Board of Commissioners board packet, which includes the draft of the previous minutes, so that the public can view the records before the board takes action on those doc records. The news quotes Chairman Boyd, "It's the right thing to do, and this board is committed to being as transparent as possible," end quote. Since January 14th, I've also requested a copy of any policies or procedures regarding how commissioners' meetings operate. After waiting 7 weeks, the county open records officer finally provided me a copy of the rules of conduct. According to the county's own rules, the chief administrator, who is responsible for preparing the board packet, is required to make the packet available to the public before the meeting. And I actually brought a copy for you in case you didn't have that. Apparently that is buried somewhere. So for weeks, the commissioner denied my request and stated repeatedly that they must rely on the advice of the county solicitor. However, not only did the solicitor ignore the Sunshine Law, he also ignored the county's own rules of conduct. Worse yet, the chairman of the board is quoted in the news saying, "The board will not be bullied into action by one disgruntled resident who consistently misinterprets the Sunshine Act." Seriously? I'm the bully because I asked you to follow the law. The news was provided a copy of the rules of conduct also, as well as the chairman's response, quote, "It's clear this ordinance is pretty far out of date. We'll most likely move to repeal it within the month and replace it with something simpler and more streamlined. In the meantime, we'll proceed with the meetings like we always have." Wow. Just ignore the rules and make a new one that suits you better. Shame on you.
Thank you, Karen.
Shame on you. Copy for you, and shame on you, Debbie. Because I gave you a copy of the packet 2 days before you wrote that article.
All right, does anybody else wish to address the board today? Seeing no one, we move on to fiscal and contractual. The first thing is the warrant, acceptance of the warrant register. I'll give a second to check over that and then take a motion on the warrant register.
Mr. Chairman, I will move for the acceptance of the warrant register as submitted.
I will second.
Hearing a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign, motion carries. Moving on to the next. We have approval of the Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes. We'll take a second, look over that, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion to accept the minutes.
Second. All right, hearing a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign, motion carries. Moving forward, we have no written communications today. No proclamations or certificates. Anybody from staff outside of the new business section of the agenda that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move forward to commissioner reports and comments, and we'll start today with Commissioner Spielberg.
Thank you. Again, I think at every meeting, I will continue to talk about the census that I believe April 1st, with a day to start the census, that we really need to express to everybody that we do come in contact with to make sure that the census is complete, because it does have an effect on the state, federal, local, well, not local, the funding that comes from the tax dollars, how it gets distributed. And for each person that is not accounted for in the county, $2,100 is lost. So I think we need to be aware of that and do our best to spread the word and make sure that everybody gets their count in. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vogler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to make note of a correction on the agenda that we have before us on the second page under announcements, noting that the Planning Commission meeting for tomorrow, that meeting has been canceled.
Yes.
There will not be a Planning Commission meeting on March 11th. They do, at this time, they do plan to convene next month, but there is no Planning Commission meeting. I believe that's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The only thing that I really want to address is this morning, for those of you who might not be aware, there was an incident in Shenango Township where shots were fired at a school bus. Thankfully, through the grace of God, no one was harmed in that incident. But Shenango police is responding, and that situation is developing. But thankfully, there was no one harmed. But it's crazy. You think, Loretta and I were talking about it when it came to our attention, and I think your quote was, crazy things happen, but they don't happen here.
Right. But it can, and we're lucky enough that we have officers able to respond to those situations, and it's being taken care of.
Phenomenal
Yes.
first responders.
Yes,
Phenomenal.
including our 911 systems. We've received that phone call from our safety director, Jeff Parrish, and that communication is very, very important because it is a fluid situation. So,
But obviously,
Yes.
just want to say thank you
yes,
to all those first responders, 911, police, fire,
yes,
EMS, that put their lives on the line every day.
yes,
So again, thankfully, no one was harmed.
yes.
All right, we'll move on to new business with first up, JPO office, a discussion and possible approval of a contract with Mid-Atlantic Youth Services in Pittston, PA to provide professional services on an as-needed basis for the period of July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. You have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. First, thank you for allowing me to get this carried on to this week's agenda from last week. My apologies, I was not here. I had a sick child at home, so that unfortunately took precedent.
And how is Frankie?
She's good.
Okay.
She's good. Thank you for asking. What you have in front of you is a contract renewal, actually, for Mid-Atlantic Youth Services. What was put together was CYS ended up, they handle all of our contracting, so they put the packet together. I just get to show up and tell you about the service, so I do appreciate that. This is a residential program that we use in Emlenton, actually, PA, located in Butler County, which is, we like to keep, it uses as many facilities as close to possible to the home, helps facilitate transportation for family visits, et cetera. So we do appreciate them having their facility not too far from us. But this is they have two programs, residential. They have a secure residential and they have an open residential. This is for both males and females. The juveniles have to be adjudicated delinquent. This is a higher level of care as it's an institutional type placement. Unfortunately, with this institutional placement, the reimbursement is of 60-40 rather than 80-20 of a community-based type programming or a 90-10 of an in-home type service. However, based on the seriousness of charges, sometimes we end up needing to use this level of care. So to be able to have facilities that are relatively close are absolutely much appreciated. So we are, again, requesting that we are able to renew a contract with them. We have one juvenile in that facility at the moment, and its average length of stay is anywhere between 6 to 9 months. Could be longer depending on the individual. But again, we would like to be able to continue working with them with our juveniles in Lawrence County.
I have any questions?
No, just comment, and just because of my background and working with juvenile probation, and Lisa being my boss at a point in time, I know how diligently they work to keep the costs down and search for those locations that are close. Because it's all cost savings, and at the same time still giving the level of care that
Absolutely.
that
We're
young
making
person
sure that
needs.
We're
Yes.
meeting their needs.
Yes.
Number one, wish I could say cost was always a number one concern,
No.
but we want to make sure that we're meeting their needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we look on an
Sure.
individual basis for facilities that'll match the kids' needs
Yes.
that can, and they can work that rehabilitation while they're in their facility.
Yes.
Any objection to giving a number to it and putting it on the vote? No objection.
None.
All right, Carol, what would be the resolution number for that?
59. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Lisa.
you. And I hope Frankie feels better.
And the only other thing that we have today, we have a resolution on the table, resolution 2020-058, revising the employee handbook, relating to an anti-nepotism policy. Just so for purposes of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to take that off the table.
So moved.
Second. Hearing a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This is just basically an update to the county's anti-nepotism policy. It's been on review in the commissioner's office for the past week. Effectively, it largely addresses, and defines, this is what a familiar, I can't even say the word. This is a familiar, I can't say the word. This is what we define a family member
There you
as.
go.
Um,
A familial relationship,
Familial, I
and I
can do it.
couldn't say it again if I had.
Can't do it.
No.
It also imposes stricter regulations moving forward, as it's important to note that this policy only relates to employees hired from the effective date of the policy. Moving forward, it places stricter regulations on hiring of relatives who are related to the commissioners, department heads, and the county administrator. And additionally, since Rich is in the audience, I'll mention this. The commissioners have no authority to regulate hiring decisions for the row offices. And while we would strongly encourage those offices to put together a policy like this, regulating their own internal operations, this specific policy exempts row officers and court administration because we have no legal authority over who you or Jan or Perry or Josh or Mike Ackerman or Jody decide to hire. So that being said, is there any opposition to moving this to the voting session of this meeting? No opposition?
No.
All right. In that case, I'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda.
So moved.
And I'm assuming the motion is to consider resolutions 58 and 59. Is that correct? I'll second that motion.
Okay. I have a motion to second. Any discussion here and none? Angelo, I'm gonna have to ask you in the future to keep your phone on silent.
Yeah, I will.
But hearing no objection, we have a motion to second. Any discussion, hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign, motion carries. All right, we'll start with just a numerical order, resolution 2020-058. Now therefore be it resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the revision regulating anti-nepotism in the Lawrence County Employee Handbook is hereby approved, and revision shall be distributed by the Human Resources Department. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second, if I may make a comment, if I'm in order, thank you. Just to be very, very clear, this is a proposal which will amend an existing policy. This is not a brand new policy, so to speak, and I do want to make that clear. There has been, in the past, an anti-nepotism policy already incorporated into the county's employee handbook and the procedures that govern that. So we are strengthening the
Yes.
existing policy, but I don't want to leave anybody with the wrong impression that this is something totally new. But it has existed in the past. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, absolutely. I'll just add to that, for better or for worse, and whether it's warranted or not, I think some of the institutions in Lawrence County have, again, whether earned or not, whether rightful or not, but have a reputation for, basically practice of nepotism. I'm not saying that happens here. However, I think a policy like this sets the right tone moving forward. That, we're not interested in continuing or starting or initiating practices relating to nepotism as it relates to hiring and contractual. But, and again, whether it's warranted or not, I'm not sure it is. I think that's a perception that we need to rid ourselves of. But that being said, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Carol, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Up next, short meeting today, resolution 2020-059. Now therefore be it resolved by the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners that the purchase of service agreements listed in attachment A shall be in effect for the period of July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. Costs are only incurred if the provider of services being used by Lawrence County contract authorization is hereby given to execute agreement with the following service provider. Mid-Atlantic Youth Services located at 701 Southridge Drive, Pittston, PA 18640. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Carol, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Announcements for today. Like Dan mentioned, the agenda that was passed out at the Planning Commission meeting has been canceled. The next Planning Commission meeting will be held in April. I don't know the exact date. It will be held in April.
The 8th. April 8th.
April 8th. And the next regular scheduled Commissioners meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, March 17th, located at 430 Court Street here in this room. I will note, I believe the Tuesday after that is the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania meeting. And so for the Tuesday following the next meeting, there will not be a Lawrence County Commissioners regularly scheduled meeting. With that being said, are there any additional public comments at this time? Rich?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes.
Commissioner Spielvogel, can you comment more on the census, how that is going to be rolled out? Is it field work where they come to your residence or something in the mail or?
It's a combination, actually.
Okay.
And I do believe that there's actually an online portion as well. I have, of course, wanted to even have some available for today, but by next week, some information, hard copies of information distributed by the Census Bureau on the different ways in the website. Just letting everybody be aware, there are packets, looking for them in the mail. And like I said, online as well, or by phone.
Okay.
Actually phone it in if you needed to. I think that just to make it as streamlined as it could possibly be so that everybody has a way to submit their information. But I'll have that for you next week.
And what if
Yes.
somebody's not contacted? And do they
And that's
just,
the unfortunate thing, and I don't know that it's that they're not contacted, or I know for myself years past, if I recall, there was, I got a packet in the mail, and then other people had actually filled workers on the doors trying to do and it's a shorter version of a census. There's so many different things that are out there, I'm not sure if that all has been streamlined, or if there will still be filled census takers, but I do believe that there are, because I remember there being job advertisements
Right.
that they would be needed.
because I was wondering what they're working off of, if it was a street list, then that's of course registered voters, but how about if you're not
Right.
registered, how do they get
Right.
everybody? What are they working off of?
Right,
As far as awareness of everybody in our county?
even, sure, that's a good question, I'll find that out
Okay,
and
thank you.
get back to you. Yeah, that's a good question, if they do go door to door.
From what I understand, because I do think there are instances where they do go door to door. Like if somebody's not responding to a packet that was sent out or a
Right,
phone call, they do send out census workers. If that individual does not answer the door, after repeated attempts, I believe that census employee is allowed to, just based on the size of the house, how many cars might be in the driveway, basically estimate the population of that household. So it might be, less accurate than if somebody had a face-to-face meeting, but obviously there are numerous individuals in the community who just simply, for better or for worse, aren't going to respond to the census, and there has to be some way there
Okay.
that enables those census takers to alleviate that issue. But yeah, to the best of my knowledge, they're allowed to infer upon repeated attempts, and those attempts being not answered, that individuals live in a household.
Thank
But
you.
obviously, fill out your census packets.
Right.
I should also note that last year, we created, as many counties have done, a complete count committee.
Mhm.
And we asked our planning department to oversee it. So there is a group of people that have formed, that Amy McKinney is working with,
Okay,
cross-section of folks from throughout the county. So if you'd like to add on to what Commissioner Spielvogel will be bringing, you might want to stop and see
Sure.
Amy. I'm sure she has a lot of information she could add.
And I will do that as well,
thank you.
yes, to get more information available. Yes, absolutely.
Any additional public comment at this time? All right, seeing no more requests to be heard, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same motion carries. Lawrence County Board of Commissioners is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. What do you want from them?
Yes, ma'am. Had you heard of it?
No.
You know anything more than maybe we put out? Yeah, that was a nice article.
There you go. You need to stop all our.
What was
Yes.
also,